First off, I'd like to thank Athletic Director McIntosh and Maria Pienka, our Senior AD, and especially Coach Clark for this opportunity. I'm the fourth coach since 1946, so I understand that the tenure of the men's rowing coach at the UW holds a lot of esteem amongst the other coaches and staff at the athletic department. And I'm honored to be the next coach of men's rowing.
To be that next leader, just emphasizing even more, what does that truly mean to you when you got the initial call when you're going through this process?
Well, I learned how to row here, and I understand how athletes are built through our program, and I understand the work it takes to get somebody from nothing to something, and being the person to lead that effort now, it's a lot more, I wouldn't say pressure, but it's not all on the entire coaching staff. It's on the head coach and the director of rowing, which is Coach Clark. So it's a little more pressure, but I know how it's done, so I feel like I can do it.
I mean, you've been around as an assistant for a while, I believe.
Yeah.
But I mean, in you started off obviously as a competitor here,
Mm-hmm.
and then went on to obviously some really special things after UW. But I guess I'm wondering, what have you learned as a coach? What did, for instance, how do I say it? What do you know now as a coach that maybe you didn't know as an athlete in terms of getting people ready?
Yeah,
and
that's a good question.
things?
Well, when you're an athlete on the team, you don't really think about the other guys on the team as much. Now you're thinking about everybody. Everybody's different on the team. Everybody needs a different way to motivate. I'd say the one thing I've learned is how to bring a guy along the way he needs to be brought along, as far as learning and technique-wise. Not everybody is as coordinated as the next guy. Like when I was rowing, I never really thought about the other guys other than I hope they're doing their job. Now it's my job to think about everybody in the boathouse and make sure that they're progressing and developing like they need to in order to be competitive in our league.
Can you take us through your background? When you came here now in high school, you were with
I just golfed and I swam for my junior and senior year in high school. So that was kind of the one athletic thing I did. I wouldn't consider, golf is kind of a hobby, but it is a sport at the highest level. I wouldn't say I was an awesome golfer. I was good enough to be on a high school team. That's about it. But I wouldn't call myself super athletic. So when this sport kind of revealed itself to me when I was in line at SOAR, I didn't have any idea that it was a sport, and B, just thought, why not give it a try? And you just go day by day, step by step, develop, and then take it as far as you want to go. It's really a sport about who's the most stubborn, who wants to stay on the longest. Kind of like in a race. Whoever is the most stubborn, that lasts the longest, who waits for the other teams to slow down or flash a sign that they're going to slow down, those are the teams that win, the ones that can last longer.
But was this something like a coach approached you about rowing, or was this?
Yeah.
How did it come?
At SOAR, we're looking for tall guys. We put a little piece of tape on a wall, and if a guy walks by and he's around that tape, we'll talk to him, ask him if they did any sports in high school. It doesn't really matter if they did sports in high school. It's kind of like an icebreaker. And then you approach them, ask them to fill out some informational form, and then we contact them later in the year and try to get them to come down to the boathouse. So that's kind of what happened to me. Coach Meyer came up to me. I was one of the first people through line because we were there really early in the morning. And I was like, what's this guy going to do? And he asked me if I was an athlete, and I said, kinda. And he said, do you know anything about rowing? I was like, nope. And filled out a form. He called me later in the summer. I showed up the first day, and I just kept coming back. It's kind of all you ever hope for a guy to do is just keep coming back to practice.
What is it like reflecting on, as you said, you had no idea anything about the sport, and all of a sudden now you're here about to lead the program.
Yeah.
What's it like thinking about that?
I texted Coach Meyer. He sent a congratulatory text, and I said, this is all because you contacted me in June of 1999. Everything after that was because of you, which is true. None of this would have happened if I hadn't just talked to the guy at SOAR. So I understand that. It's a big deal, how far you can take it, but you want other people to understand that they're important to your journey as well. And I hope that I can be important to somebody down the road, whether it's on the team now or later. You hope that you can be that influence on them.
Going off of that too, specifically your mission and what you want to bring to this program now that you're leading, what is that mission?
Win championships. We're one of 5 teams that have done it in the last 20 years, and it works. It doesn't seem like it should. Recruiting kids that haven't rowed before seems ridiculous, but with the right training and the right plan, it's possible. So.
And a follow-up, going back to to SOAR, was that your freshman year, or were you?
It was going into your freshman year, yeah. Everybody goes to one SOAR session, then you do your registration. So we see them on the first day before they do their registration. So you see everybody basically at Union South. They go up a set of stairs that we're at the bottom of, so you see them go by, and you want to talk to them if they look athletic. It doesn't matter if they're tall necessarily, but we like, tall is leverage in our sport.
Is there anyone, you mentioned Greg Meyer, I think you mentioned Coach Clark, like, who are some of the people along the way that maybe other people that influence you getting here?
There's a lot. Like everybody along my journey has helped in some way, whether it's from, Dan Gain, the summer of my freshman year running our development camp. I learned a lot from that, even though I did quit for the summer. I learned a lot from that. All the way up to the guys I rode with in 04, all of them some of them have coached, some of them are coaching in our league. I wouldn't have any, elite legitimacy without those guys. The guys I rode with in college, obviously. Everybody that you row with has some sort of part in your journey as an athlete and as a coach, because you think about what you did, what made you successful as a team, what made you successful as an individual. So anybody I ever rode with, from the guy on the 5th boat that we were in a practice together, all the way up to the guy sitting in 6th seat behind you if you're sitting 7th seat, they all play a part.
Just one more then. So, like, you're an Olympic gold medalist, so obviously not a lot of people can say that, not a lot of coaches. Does that give you an edge anyway? Is it for in line at SOAR? Is it recruiting? Like, is there anything that you think of that gives an advantage?
It gives you legitimacy as a sport and as an athlete, I would say, first and foremost. A lot of people, like, I never heard of the sport, but you see a gold medal, you're like, oh, that's pretty serious. So it gives it, some sort of legitimacy. It took a lot of effort to get to that point, and people understand with that little piece of metal that there was a lot of effort put into it. And, we don't give them out at SOAR, but like anybody that wants to try to do that can. And this is probably the only sport in college that you can walk on and do that. Like from 0 to, Olympic champion.
I got one more. So there's a lot of new faces at Boathouse now, or at least in new positions.
Yeah.
Is there excitement there? Obviously Vicky, I think she's actually here.
Yeah, she's here.
Women's coach.
Yeah.
Like, it's summertime, so maybe it's a little slow, but what's it feel like with all the change over there?
I think it's going to be great. I do. We did a summer practice where a couple of women's boats joined our practice. We hadn't done that in a while, like a really long time, where we had like a practice where the women just jumped in with us. And I'm looking forward to doing that more. I think that would be fun. And I think it would be exciting for the athletes to do that too. And Coach Clark will be that guy that brings us together. And being a director of rowing, it's kind of a new role, so we don't really know what it's going to entail, but I'm sure he's going to do the best job anybody possibly could, because he's the best coach I ever had, obviously, and he knows what he's doing, so we'll trust him.
Thank you.
A couple other things. One, after I ask you these things, I want to take your picture, but
Sure.
I've always been intrigued by the, that, like I said, walk-on nature of rowing. And you may have touched on it, but when you're going through SOAR, what do you remember what they said to you specifically? I mean, you got a lot going on, I assume, at that point, being a freshman.
Yeah.
You remember what said to you that made you say, "Oh, hey, okay, I'll check this out"?
This is a funny story, because my dad said, "You're absolutely not doing that." And that made me want to do it. So like the whole summer I was working, my brother and I worked at a carbon filtration plant in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and I was thinking about it in the back of my mind all summer, and I saw an ergometer, a land rowing machine. I was like, should I hop on that and try it? And I was like, no. But I'll wait for later. I'll try it when I try out. And the school rolled around. Coach Meyer called me in August after we had all gone through SOAR. I'm sure he called a lot of guys, and it just reminded me that I should do this. Even though he called me the wrong name, he called me Brow, and my dad said, Brow, it's for you. It still made me want to go down and do it because he thought maybe I could be good at the sport.